and a literary agent through his agency, The Book Bakers, who will expertly guide us through this enriching conversation. Thank you, Sohail. Now, let's welcome two beacons of inspiration. First, Mr. Shiv Khera, a renowned author, educator, and business consultant known for inspiring individuals to reach their full potential. With over 40 years of research, his best selling book, You Can Win, has sold over 8 million copies worldwide. He's conducted dynamic workshops in over 20 countries for clients including Lufthansa, HP, and Mercedes, and serves as a brand ambassador for Roundtable Foundation, embodying the mantra winners don't do different things, they do things differently. And finally, Mr. Kapil Gupta, a parallel entrepreneur who believes in providing true meaning to the various organizations he runs and builds them in sync with one another. He jokingly calls himself the jack of all trades and a master of some. He is the founder and CEO of the following organizations: Soul Wellness, a mental wellness platform, and his current passion project, OM Logic Consulting Private Limited, one of India's leading digital marketing agencies, Pragati e-Vichar Literature Festival, a virtual and physical exhibition platform, and finally, Frontlist Media, a portal for the publishing industry. Let's please give them a warm round of applause. Over to you, Suhail.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone, and pleasure to be over here with all of you. And it's going to be a great session, I can assure you, because we have two extremely talented gentlemen who have a reservoir of knowledge to share with us. But even before I begin, I'd like to tell you a quick story which I read. I'm a big fan of Hindu mythology. और वो कहानी कुछ ऐसी है कि एक राजा थे सागर, जो अश्वमेध यज्ञ कर रहे थे, और उन्होंने अपना घोड़ा छोड़ा और वो बाय डिफॉल्ट जाके कपिल मुनि के सामने, जो उनके आश्रम थे, उसके सामने रुक गया. तो सागर राजा के बेटों को लगा कि कपिल मुनि ने ये हमारा जो घोड़ा है वो रोक लिया है. तो इससे कपिल मुनि ऑफेंड हो गए और उन्होंने उन 60,000 सन्स थे सागर राजा के, उन सबको भस्म कर दिया. और फिर कहानी ये है कि कैसे पीढ़ी दर पीढ़ी उनकी जनरेशंस आई उनको मोक्ष दिलाने के लिए, टिल इवेंचुअली भागीरथ केम, और भागीरथ ने फिर शिवजी से गुहार लगाई और फिर गंगा आई अर्थ पे एंड उनके सिंस मिटे. तो इससे हमें दो चीजें पता लगती हैं. पहली चीज तो ये है दैट परसिवियरेंस इज द की, जिसके बारे में हम आज बात करने वाले हैं. परसिवियर आपको करना पड़ेगा, पीढ़ी दर पीढ़ी यहाँ पर हम परसिवियर कर रहे हैं. और दूसरे सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है कि जहां हम परसिवियरेंस की बात करते हैं, तो इस कहानी के माध्यम से ही मैं आपको बता सकता हूँ कि जहां पर परसिवियरेंस की बात आती है, वो शुरू होती है कपिल से और खत्म होती है शिव से. सो आज भी हमारे साथ आई हैव कपिल एंड शिव विद मी, मिस्टर Kapil Gupta and Mr. Shiv Khera over here. And we are going to traverse all topics, and my introduction actually to mental well-being, attitude, positivity actually came through a joke, which was a literary joke. And the joke is that there are a husband and wife who are conversing with one another, and the husband goes and tells the wife that I know this author, he took 8 years to complete a book. And the wife very nonchalantly says that, oh, that's nothing, I know someone who took 14 years to complete a sentence. And he's like, how? So she says, oh, well, he went to jail. So again, the thing over here is twofold. Firstly, for that very minute second, the husband believed that someone could actually take 14 years to write a sentence, which means that if you persevere, you can definitely achieve your goal, or if not achieve it, then you can at least commence your goal. And the second thing is that it is never too late to realize your dream. I mean, I was speaking the other day and I told everyone that the Black Beauty, the author of Black Beauty, Anna Sewell, took 7 years to write the book. That was the only book she wrote because she was unwell. But we're talking about it today as well. So that is the power of perseverance. And we have two gentlemen who will enlighten us immensely. So it's going to be a great session. Please stay tuned. And today, where we are is a result of several years of discussions on the topic. And who better than Shiv sir to enlighten us? So, sir, even before we come to where we are currently, I'd like to start with the genesis of it all. And, as they say that every Sachin Tendulkar requires a Sunil Gavaskar for inspiration, and you have been an inspiration to countless millions across the globe. What I wanted to ask you were two things. Firstly, who was your inspiration? And secondly, at what point of time did you feel that this concept of self help, of motivation, needs to be brought in India? Because at the time you started off, it was still a very alien concept. And while the internet does give us some information about who your influences may have been, you are here, so I wouldn't want to spoil the fun. Why don't you let us know and take us through this magical journey of yours?
Thanks a lot, Sahil. First of all, you talked of 14 years of one sentence. It took me 30 years to write my first book. 30 years. And I was rejected by probably 100 publishers. And finally, I got into the publishing by the world's largest publisher, which is Prentice Hall out of Singapore. And interestingly, the journey was not that simple and easy. You talked of persistence. This is where it comes down
Absolutely.
to. You see, finally, first of all, if you read a publisher's contract, after reading, you can never sign it. And it says, so and so hereby is the publisher, so and so hereby is the author. And the author gives all known, unknown rights to the publisher, and then they have 6 pages after that. I said, if you got this one sentence written, why do you have 6 pages after that? What is the point? It doesn't mean anything. But anyway, the bottom line is, after we signed up, every time I used to go to a bookshop, I was looking my book, where is it? I couldn't find my book. I said, maybe it's a bestseller. It's gone
Absolutely.
very fast. But then when I went in, I asked them, do you have this book called You Can Win? And they said, you can what? I said, you can win. They said, you can what? I said, well, maybe you don't know by the name of the book. Maybe you know by the author. I said, it is written by Shiv Khera. He said, Shiv what? Who's Shiv what? And then I said, Shiv what? Then now let's see. Look, it is published by Prentice Hall, world's largest publisher. Oh, yeah, we know it. So I went back to Prentice.
Sure.
Friend, my book is not available anywhere. How the hell do you expect to sell it?
Yep.
And they said, nobody wants to keep your book. I said, why is that? He said, unknown author, we can't give him shelf space. We cannot give him shelf space because shelf space costs money.
Sure.
I said, well, at least do some advertising publicity. He said, we have no money. I said, all right, but at least do some PR activity because PR doesn't cost money. He said, it does. I said, send my book. They said, we have to pay for the couriers. I said, all right. I said, all right, send it to the couriers, deduct it from my royalty if I have any.
Right. Absolutely.
And they started sending my book after that. And nobody would write anything on me. But finally, after almost a few months later, one of the largest newspaper in Malaysia gave me a full-page write-up. Sahil,
Wow.
Full-page write-up for an unknown author is a big thing. Yes,
It's a big
no?
thing.
Okay, now hear what they wrote. Don't buy this book.
Oh,
They wrote in, don't buy this book. Shiv Khera has written nothing new.
Oh.
It is old wine in a new bottle. And they gave me a criticism of 1 page. Big page. And finally, at the bottom, they wrote in, save your money.
oh.
And they made it a point to send it to a Singapore office so that I read it. Well, I was traveling. I wasn't there. My wife received that cutting or the page, and she folded it and put it under some files. She never told me about it. 2 years later, we were moving our office in Singapore. And after clearing up many things, I came across that big write-up. So I asked my wife, "Did you know about it?" She said, "Yeah, I put it there." So why didn't you tell me? She said, "What is there to tell you? What is there to tell you? You put in so much hard work. Why should I tell you something which does not make any sense, a negativity from somewhere else?" And by that time, my book had already hit the international bestseller. It had already done. And that incident taught me something in life, that folks, remember one thing: you do good, you will be criticized. You do bad, you will still be criticized. Folks, just remember, just do good and to hell with the criticism, and that's it. And keep in mind one thing: there are some people in this world, no matter which side you are, they're permanently on the
Negative
other side. It doesn't matter which side.
Yep.
And no country has honored a critic to date. No country has built a statue in the name of a critic. I'll just one quick example and pass on the mic to you.
Sure, sir.
See, Robert Fulton gave the steamboat, and the crowds were there at the Hudson River to watch that spectacular event. And all the critics were there, and they said, "It'll never start, it'll never start, it'll never start." But then it started.
Right.
And when they saw it start, immediately they shouted, "Now it'll never stop." Folks, there are some people, no matter which side you are,
Absolutely.
they're permanently on the other side. I'll let you take the mic. But
Thank
this is the power of persistence. Remember,
Absolutely.
success is not measured by how high you go up in life, but how many times you bounce back when you fall down. That is
True.
success.
That is success. Absolutely.
And that is persistence.
Absolutely. And what
So-
we've also realized is that more than being persistent with respect to writing the book, you need greater persistence to ensure that your publisher promotes your book. That's one. And sir, when you were mentioning that they wrote that it's old wine in a new bottle, he hasn't said anything different. Well, he should have just said, "I don't do different things, I do things differently." That should have been the response. But obviously, what a wonderful story, sir, and a perfect start to this, which brings me to my next question, which is to you, Kapil. So now, Kapil, as your interesting bio says, jack of all trades and master of some, thankfully. So what I wanted to ask you was that, when we look at your company, Soul Wellness, that is definitely, in my opinion, something that you are a master of. And I'll tell you why I say this. We've read books which deal with mental health, mental wellness, right? We have also seen or heard podcasts about it, but never ever have we come across, an entire company dedicated to this holistic idea of wellness. So what I want to ask you is that how did you envision this idea, this revolutionary idea of having an entire company? Because also what we see that when we talk about soul, one would in a normal parlance say it's SOUL, but yours is spelled differently. It's SOLH. So what is the reason behind it? And how did you make this such a differentiating factor?
Sure. So I started in the mental health world nearly 3 years back. And the reason I started was I saw everybody's life, everybody's mental health suffer.
Right.
And it has always been a problem. Pre-COVID, it's not like mental health was not a problem. It has probably been around since humanity. But 3 years back, when COVID was, we were in the middle of it, I saw some switch flip. That is when I started really delving into, okay, so what is going on in terms of solutions in the mental health area? And I saw 3 kinds of solutions. One solution that was happening was purely some people coming up and saying, how do I sell more counseling and more therapies to people, and starting what is called as online marketplaces for mental health.
Sure.
Number 2, I saw organizations that were specifically focused on meditation, whether it is Calm, whether it is Being, whether it is Headspace. There were many companies that were specifically focused on this concept of meditation. And third, I saw people that would go do a 1 hour or a 2 hour workshop and would say, okay, we have revamped your mental well-being. And more I talk to people, more I realized what a fallacy there is in it.
Sure.
Mental health is not something that you get corrected from.
Sure.
Mental health is an ongoing journey.
That's
And
true.
you need to have a capability that helps you be there forever. That was the reason I started Soul Wellness.
Sure.
And in fact, that is the reason I wrote my book, which we recently launched, called as In My Head, where we talk about simplifying mental health. It is probably the most complex issue, the most complex subject for people to get. What I have tried to do is put it in extremely simple adjectives and extremely simple terms.
Absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the book, In My Head. It's released at the World Book Fair, and after the event, both the authors would be available to sign their respective copies. So please make a beeline for it, because it's definitely going to revolutionize
Sure.
your life.
And the second question that
Yeah.
you asked,
About
soul,
the soul.
SOLH. So soul, there is a story to it. Soul is an Arabic word that means making peace. This is what I tell my friends in America. And then I, went to Middle East, and if I would say soul, they will literally kill me. So I told them it's salah. It's an Arabic word that means making peace, and they were very happy about it. And then I came to India, and some of my friends had a problem. Why did you have to keep an Arabic name? I mean, it's not enough that you gave a Hebrew name to your daughter. You have to keep an Arabic name for your company. And I told them the name is not Salah. The name is Suleh. It's a Hindi word
Suleh.
that means making peace. So
Correct.
that's the genesis of
Correct.
keeping the name.
In fact, even Akbar had the Suleh Kul, which is about making peaceful relations. Which brings me to my next question, Shiv sir. So, Kapil mentioned that mental wellness, mental well-being is a continuous process. It's not something that is a one-time affair. Over the years, we have seen several strides being made in the field of mental health, mental well-being, focusing on yourself. And, you have been at the forefront, and, you're a pioneer in the field. But what I want to ask you is this, that, sometimes when you have the first mover, you do have an advantage, because not too many people are doing what you are. So it is great. But at the same time, there may not be as much receptivity, because a few years ago, if someone had a mental issue, they would say, "Arey yaar, ye to pagal hai." If there is a child who's not scoring enough marks, and now we know that it's a learning disorder called dyslexia, we will say, "Ye to duffer hai." So what I want to ask you is that when you are speaking to so many people in an era of large-scale ignorance, how did you sensitize these people? Because mental wellness, just like they say that charity begins at home, mental wellness starts from having a good perception about you, so that you believe that you can improve. So how did you go about that, and how easy or difficult was it for you at that point of time to sensitize people about several of these topics?
Well, first of all, Sahil, when I had my book out, there were hundreds and thousands of self-help books even then, by the way.
I mean, yeah,
I understand that. Now, keeping that in mind, when you talk of mental wellness, invariably people talk of meditation and a bunch of other things. Now,
Sure.
I'm writing my next book on stress handling. First of all stress is not bad. All
Right.
stress is not bad. See, it is stress that makes us perform. Now, all of us can handle stress. Hear this, folks, carefully. All of us can handle stress.
Yeah.
What we cannot handle is chronic stress. Are you with me?
Yes,
When it becomes chronic, now we got a problem.
absolutely.
Okay. But stress is also an attitude issue. Share with you a quick example.
Please do.
A person is going to the office driving, and he has a little accident, fender bender. Fender bender is no big deal. You hit the fender and the bender. That's about it. And now the person comes out, they start fighting, they're shouting, and man, what a bad day it is. You ruined my day, what a bad day, and so on and so forth. He goes to the office, all upset, calls his secretary, calls his office people, and he said, what a bad day. He shouts at everybody. He said, messed up day.
Hmm.
And now he ruins everybody else's mental frame. And
Right.
then it goes on. And the secretary goes home with a stressed out mind. She talks to his kids and she says, you are messed up.
Hmm.
And the kicks up the dog. He says, you are messed up too. Folks, one thing led to the other, and it just went on and on and on. Reverse it. There's another person going to the office, has an accident in the car. The car rolls over 2 times, and he comes out of the window safe. And he says, man, what a lucky day.
What a lucky day. Absolutely.
What a lucky day. The good Lord must be riding with me today. And he goes to the office and says, man, what a wonderful day it is.
Absolutely.
What a wonderful day. And he spreads the positivity everywhere. Look at this. Same incident, same car accident. One person's behavior was totally negative, the other was positive. Now, was it the accident that causes stress, or was it our reaction to the accident that causes
Stress, the reaction.
stress?
Absolutely.
It is our response that causes stress. Think about it. How come, under the same set of circumstances, some people break records while others break themselves? Now, since I'm writing my next book on stress handling, people talk of meditation. I said, buddy, if you got a bad attitude, you can't even meditate. You can't even meditate properly. They said, no. Many times, therapists say, make a change of scene, take a vacation, go to a hill station. Well, you got a problem in your head. You take the problem with your head to the hill station anyway. Now you're down from your pocket money anyway. It doesn't do the job. So we need to understand it is attitude that is a major issue, because without a good attitude, you can't even meditate properly.
Absolutely. No, that's very well said. In fact, this reminds me, sir, the example that you gave reminds me about this situation where, there were these 2 people from 2 different companies, and both of them were salespersons selling shoes. And both of them took, a flight to an island nation which was developing. And 1 week into their analysis, one of them called up and said that, look, guys, please book me the next flight ticket. There is no market over here because nobody wears shoes. And he went back. And the other guy called up his company and said, guys, please come here in huge numbers. There is immense potential because nobody wears shoes yet. So I think that is the difference that you were trying to make. And that is so well said. Which brings me to my next question, Kapil. I was actually seeing this interview of Shah Rukh Khan. And Shah Rukh Khan said that, यार पहले अमीर हो जाओ, उसके बाद philosopher बनना. गुर्बत में philosophy नहीं कर सकते आप. Which I thought was very pertinent. And, so what he was in essence saying is that to give lessons of success, you need to have achieved it first and made yourself financially stable. Now, economy and mental wellness is also a subject that your book traverses. And it's a very different, very unique concept that you've brought about. So I, of course, know about it because I've had the opportunity to read your book. But for everyone who's sitting over here, why don't you tell us what that concept is? Because you've also correlated it with wellness and productivity having a correlation. So please do let our audience know about it.
So let me first say the relatedness between mental wellness and economy is not necessarily something that I conceptualized. I mean, it's been talked about everywhere. There are numbers that are thrown around. But as I said, I believe in simplifying things. So how I kind of put it across in the book, and I have talked about it, is think about yourself. There are days when you are good. You wake up on the right side of the bed. You are like Sir said, it's a beautiful day. You go to office, you are happy about things, and you work, and you are able to achieve a lot. And the next day, you wake up on the wrong side of the bed. It's a bad day. You probably end up into a fender bender and end up fighting with somebody, go to office, you are unhappy, you don't do as well. The difference between this good day and this bad day for everybody is at least 20%. For 70 to 80% people, this difference is 50%. For nearly 30, 40, 50% people, this difference is 100% or more. So if mental wellness of individuals can be enhanced in certain ways, can we do real, productive, efficient, happy difference in their lives? And that for me
Yeah.
is where the economic impact of mental health comes into being. What
Sure.
we have also done in the book, along with talking about the economy, is we have also talked about enterprise, SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. People think there is one mental health, one sustainability development goals that impacts or that is impacted by mental health. What we have done in the book is we have looked at various SDGs, and in our view, 8 out of the 17 SDGs cannot be complete till you work on mental health. And we have kind of done a detailed analysis looking at the various SDGs and discussed the impact of them.
Wonderful. So I think a very different perspective coming in, which you can obviously read over here. I read a very interesting quote which was related to economics and motivation, which was कोशिश करने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती, कोशिश करने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती, पैदल ही निकल लेते हैं वो लोग जिनके पास बाइक या कार नहीं होती. so that was that. But Shiv sir, I want to ask you a question. And we always come across this term, which is you must have this winner attitude, or you must have this way of thinking which is akin to a winner. Now what I want to ask you is that what is this winner attitude that everyone talks about? Because who better than you, winner is a term that is so closely associated with you, and you've given us so much of direction to it. But for everyone sitting over here, especially the youth of the country, who are on the cusp of achieving greater success in their life, what I want to ask is, what do you determine as a winner attitude? And maybe if you could regale us with another example, if possible.
I'll just flip a little bit on this,
Sure.
because sadly today, as parents and teachers, we teach our kids only 2 words. One is win and succeed, win and succeed, win and succeed. But remember, life for anyone does not always go one way. It doesn't keep going up, up, up. It also comes down. It also comes down. That is a reality. And sadly, we never teach our kids how to fail and how to lose.
That's correct.
But failing and losing is a reality. And since they have not learned to do it, when they fail and lose, what do? They go into deep depressions, commit suicide.
Correct.
Look, the prime example here is the IITians. Folks, out of God knows maybe 2, 3, 4 million people, only 10, 15,000 are picked up every year.
Sure.
And that means they are the cream of the country. Highly intellectual. They're the top of the world right here, highly intellectual. And that means the IQ is very high. But tell me, who has one of the highest suicide rates? Also the IITians.
Correct.
That means they are emotionally weak people. Emotionally weak people. So that is one crucial thing that we need to understand. Remember one thing. You look at all success stories in life, they're all stories of great failures. I repeat, they're all stories of great failures, and they came back. Now, only one thing I'll just answer to your point on the winner side. Remember, stress is normal and natural. I repeat one more time. Stress is both normal and natural. Have you been to a race course, or at least seen in the movies, the thoroughbreds? Thoroughbreds, when they are being taken into the cabin, are they walking casually, relaxed? No. You see, when they are being taken into the cabin, they're jumping like this. They're jumping like this. That means what? They're under heavy stress. And the moment the window opens and the bell rings, bang, they shoot up and they run straight. Now, that's a thoroughbred. But you take a jackass to the race course. This jackass is not jumping like the thoroughbreds. This jackass is walking so cool, comfortable, relaxed at all. He has no stress, but then he's a jackass. He will remain a jackass for the rest of his life.
True.
Remember, stress is the price we pay to be a thoroughbred in life. I repeat one more time. Stress is the price we pay to be a thoroughbred. So what I come back to you is, we need to overcome stress. We need to understand how to handle stress. Remember, even positive events in life cause stress. Marriage, childbirth, birthday party. I mean, they all cause stress. We need to understand how to handle stress. And that is the most important thing. That's the winner's edge.
Absolutely. Wonderfully said. And to reiterate, as Sir said, not all stress is bad, only chronic stress is. And as he wonderfully elucidated, once again, it doesn't matter how many times you reach up, it's how many times you fall and then reach up, which is very interesting. Now, my question to the both of you is that, both of you have written best-selling books. And Kapil, I'll start off with you. So it is one thing understanding a concept, be it related to mental health, mental wellness, positivity, attitudes. It is another thing imparting it. You may still impart it verbally like we are doing right now. But as an author, what are the measures, what are the tropes that you use, or what is the methodology that you use to successfully implement, the understanding of what you're trying to say to the readers? And if you could maybe elucidate it with an example, that's great. Answer. Once Kapil has responded, I'll come back to you with the same question. As authors, what are the ways in which you try to make a concept easier for the layman reader? Kapil, if you could start with that. Thank you.
Sure. So first of all, let me start off with, I am not an author. So what I mean by that is, I'm not into the business of writing. What I have written so far has really come across from various experiences and from various businesses that I have run. What I have always believed, and all the writing that I have done in both the books so far, my concept is primarily to simplify something. I believe, specifically talking about mental health, I believe the challenge that people have is the lack of understanding and appreciation of mental health, which is sometimes made too complex. Mindfulness is a great concept, but it is sometimes very difficult for ordinary people to be able to really understand and implement in their life. So what I did was, I tried to simplify mental health, and let me elucidate that with an example, as you said.
Sure.
The first thing that we talk about, so when I started talking about mental health, the first thing that we talk about is what we call as a 16-hour theory. So we say, while people talk about this stigma, this challenge, this problem, and all the issues associated with mental health, in reality, more than 16 hours a day, every day, in every action that an individual takes and every decision that an individual makes, it is being done consciously, subconsciously, covertly, overtly, but it is being done with the perspective of optimizing your mental health. If you start thinking about it, if you simply start incorporating that in your everyday life, in things where you decide and things where you act, I think it will be extremely therapeutical. And then we go ahead and we said, the challenge is people don't have the vocabulary, the tools, or the framework for mental health. And, this has been discussed in quite detail in the book. Vocabulary meaning, bhasha. They don't have a language of mental health to be able to communicate, to be able to talk. Number two, they don't have tools. So whatever you do, like Sir said, stress, it's the price that you pay for you wanting to achieve something, for you really caring about something, for being successful.
Correct.
So we say, you don't have the vocabulary, you don't have the tools. And all of these have not been put in what I call as a framework, a dhacha for you. So what the book tries to do is to talk about what do you require in terms of tools. And we have classified that as self-help tools. So tools that you would use by yourself. community support tools that you will use with community at large, and expert services where you may require whether it is clinical experts or non-clinical experts and be able to get support from them. And that's really going into those details of simplification, I think, is specifically in mental health. I think that is what really helps the audience get the concept that you're talking about.
Absolutely. My mind went straight away to the point where he said, 16 hours in a day. And I said that, hey, cash in on it, call it Solar Wellness, considering your brand. But wonderful. So, sir, I'll finally come to you before we open the floor for audience questions. Of course, I had a few, but we're running short of time. So, as an author and a very successful author, what are the measures that you take, to connect greater with your readers and to make them understand the concept that you're espousing?
I'd just like to add on something to the continuation for what Kapil said. Going back about a couple of years ago, I was invited to address 1,000 cardiologists from all over the world. That was a global conference. And the topic was science and spirituality. So I was to speak on science and spirituality. Now, I'm neither a scientist nor a spiritual sort kind of a guy either, considering that. So just to give you my background, as Kapil said, a lot of these things have come from experience. I'm not that educated. My academics are, I'm a BCom 3rd division. I failed in my 10th. That's my academics. And I come from a business family. We had coal mines, they got nationalized, and we came on the street. So I left India and started life in US, initially Toronto, with a bucket in my hand, washing cars door to door. For about a year and a half, I was washing cars. And then got into selling life insurance, totally by accident, which was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. And there were some turning points. And one of them was, I attended a program by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, the man who wrote the book Power of Positive Thinking. And gradually, that moved me to one side. Now, let me come back to the cardiologist doctors conference. There were 1,000 of them, and I was to speak on spirituality and science. So I started thinking, how do I talk to these scientists who are from the top of the world, everywhere the best from the world? So I did a little research. I opened the dictionary to see the meaning of spirituality. It was written there, anything that lifts your spirit is called spiritual. Anything that lifts your spirit is called spiritual. And interestingly, today, parents tell their kids, do what feels good, do what feels good, do what feels good, do what feels good. Folks, the way we learned from our parents, coming from the old school, feeling good is a natural outcome of doing good. You do good, you feel good. How do you feel good when you don't do good? So if you are good, then you do good. You do good, then you feel good. It doesn't work the other way. So now the next question comes, is there something called good and bad? Answer is yes. Unlike Shakespeare said, nothing is right or wrong, your thinking makes it so. I totally disagree with Shakespeare. And I put in my book, there is something called right and wrong. You see, unlike people who say, nothing is right or wrong, your thinking makes it so. You see, if there is nothing right or wrong, then every criminal in this world should be released. Who said they are wrong? You said they are wrong, they didn't think so. If there are no rights and wrongs, then Hitler was totally right. Who says he was wrong? See, folks, you go outside this hall and somebody stabs you with a knife. They stab you with a knife and you tell them, my friend, you're doing it wrong. He says, nothing is right or wrong. Shakespeare said it.
Yeah.
Go tell it to this guy. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work. There is something called universal and eternal values.
Correct.
We need to understand those are the only things that give us peace of mind. They are the ones who take away stress. I addressed this medical group and I said 90% of your problems today, if you have 8 hours of good sleep and you're happy all day long, 90% of your medical problems are over. 90%.
Wonderful, wonderful. No, I think it's a great perspective to know from both of these gentlemen. You know, I'll quickly add before I move to the audience. I was here a few years ago for my own book launch, and I was sitting with an ISKCON guru, and he'd done a book called The Chronicles of Hanuman, and he gave an example. He said that when Lord Hanuman went to get the Sanjeevani booty, he was challenged by Shani Dev for a duel. So what he did was that he quickly defeated him and tied him to a mountain with the help of his tail, and went and got the Sanjeevani booty. Now, what does this story teach us? This story teaches us that in the larger scheme of things, there are going to be several minor impediments that are going to come your way. But intelligent is that person who solves it quickly and is able to succeed in life. Another example is a book that we did. We represented Mr. W.V. Raman's book with Rupa Publications. W.V. Raman, former India batsman, and he was the coach of the Indian women's cricket team at that time. And, he told me a very interesting anecdote. He said that, in 92, 93, India had toured England, and Sachin Tendulkar scored 93 in a test inning. And when he came back, Azhar and Kapil Dev went and congratulated him for playing so well. But Sachin actually broke down. So both of them were surprised. So they asked that, why are you crying? I mean, you scored 93, why are you crying? So he said, because the situation that the team is in demanded me to score 150. So what does that teach you? That teaches you two things. Number one, that the team goal is always more important than the individual goal. And number two, that if you want to succeed in life, you need to constantly better yourself. And I think these are such interesting tools, because if someone would have told that to me in a lecture, I would have forgotten. But now, because there is Hanumanji associated with it, or a Sachin Tendulkar associated with it, we'll not really forget that. So interesting perspectives coming in, and I'm sure the audience would have some questions. So if anyone has any question, please do raise your hand. We'll send a mic your way, and you can ask the question and give your name, and also to whom you would like to ask that question, if that is the case. Anyone would like to ask a question? Yes, there's a gentleman over there. If a mic could be passed to him, your name and the question, and who do you want to ask it to, or if it's for both the panelists.
My name is Manoj Kumar. I want to ask question from Shiv Khera sir. It was the day, I think before 20 years I read You Can Win. And it is a wonderful book. Still some attitude, some insights are with me. And it's a wonderful book. I want to ask one question from Shiv Khera sir. That there are some situations, stories are there. Then how you can pick that learning from it? That learning, how should we learn from the situations? I want to ask that.
Is there any situation in particular? Is it a general situation?
General, any situation, how we come with the that positive or that
I
empowering.
think you came a little late, because he had mentioned a very beautiful example
Yes.
relating to a car accident. If you did hear.
Yes,
Okay, you heard.
I.
Okay, but sir, if there's anything else for the gentleman.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank you for the kind words. I'm grateful to you, sir. Now, the only thing is, there are many, many, many people who read books. All I can say to you is, reading a book once is not good enough. In my new book, You Can Achieve More, I've given an example that 85% of millionaires and billionaires in the world are first generation. Only 15% are coming from inheritance. So they were asked, how come you gained so much financial success in such a short time? They said, we read books. How many books? 50 books a year. Means one book a week. And they were asked, what kind of books do you read? They said, we don't read fiction. We only read self-help books. Why? Because one good idea is worth $1 million. One good idea. How many ideas do you need to succeed in life? Only one. Now, many times people say to me, Mr. Kira, I've read your book once. I said, you wasted your time and money also. You have wasted your time and money also, because you will find a serious reader will never borrow or lend books. They'll never borrow. Many times people come to us say, Mr. Kira, I got a great new book. I can lend it to you. I said, don't. Either give it to me, gift it to me, sell it to me. Don't lend it to me. Why? I won't give it back to you. Why? Because when I read a book, I underline, make notes on the side. Why? Because I learned one thing. Reading a good book once is not good enough. There are books I've read 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 times. Arrow Electronics, $26 billion company in US, is our client. During the peak of pandemic, they hit one of the highest quarters, $2 billion in sales. So they celebrated. They invited me to address. Their managing director, I asked him that people are closing shops. How come you're doing so well? He said, Mr. Kira, you don't remember. Probably 10 years ago, I attended your program, leadership program. And he said, you had a shop at the back. And he said, I bought your shop. I said, what does that mean? He said, I bought 800-900 books from you. And he said, everybody in my company, it is mandatory for them to read your book once a year. Okay. And he said, I read your book 25 times. And then he said to me, Mr. Kira, if you forget a paragraph in your own book, call me, I'll tell you where it is. Wonderful. Interesting. So wonderful. Keep one thing in mind. When you say, how do you bring it into my practice? If you read it once, you wasted your time and money too. You need to internalize the book. It is not how much you eat, how much you digest that matters. Otherwise, you're wasting your time and money too.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
So Manoj ji, the key takeaway is that इसको तो आप दोबारा पढ़िए, एक और book आई है, वो भी खरीदिए आप.
Thank you. Right, sir.
चलिए. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
One more. We have time for one more question. We'll let the. I think the lady over there had raised her hand. So I'm very sorry, but maybe you can ask the question after the event. We're very short on time. Your question, ma'am, and yeah, please go
Good
ahead.
evening to all. Good
Yeah.
evening, sir. Good evening. Sir, my name is Akruti Sharma, and I have a question from Shiv, sir. Sir, whatever we read in the books, I mean, sometimes it's really difficult to apply it in our lives. Although
ma'am.
the perspective is to, of course, learn something and to apply. But
Yes, ma'am.
sometimes we fail to apply it in that life. So what is that one mantra you can give me, which I can certainly do that, because it happens with me. I read and I forget. Although I have learned from the last question that don't read it once, read it twice, thrice, unless you digest it. So I think-
Again and again and again. Keep it one line in mind. Repetition is the mother of learning. I repeat one more time. Repetition is the mother of learning.
Okay.
And many times people ask me, Mr. Kira, do you also get demotivated? Answer is yes, I do. And when I get demotivated, what did I do? I read my book.
Right. Right.
My point I'm trying to make is just the way our bodies need food every day, our minds need positive thoughts every day.
Right. Right.
See, if you don't feed your body with good food, what will happen? We fall sick physically. And if you, just the way our bodies need food, our minds need positive thoughts every day. Otherwise, we become mentally sick.
Absolutely.
See, this is like an athlete. When you keep practicing, your stamina is there. When you stop practicing, is your stamina the same way?
No, not
It goes down.
It goes down.
Similarly, that's why you need to go back to the read book again and again and again and again. Ma'am, there is no shortcut. And I heard one thing, these answers are simple. Are they easy? No, they're not. See, just the way motivation is like a battery, it dies if you don't keep adding fuel. Just the way your battery gets discharged, you need to recharge, discharge to recharge. But do you wait for the battery to die completely and then charge? No. So similarly, don't let your motivation level go down totally. Recharge here, recharge right here. That's how it works. That's the only way. There is no shortcut.
Thank you so much, sir.
And
This
the-
means a lot
yes,
to me.
and the
Thank
key
you.
takeaways, as he said, again, again, and again. So
right.
break it down, and you'll get again, again, and again. So that is the mantra that you need to definitely keep in life. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just, may I?
Please, please.
Folks, when we do our 4-day leadership program, at the end, people walk away with an action plan for the rest of their life. And we hand over to everybody a wristband called You Can Win. It's a You Can Win wristband. And sometimes I meet people at the airports, and they come enthusiastically to me and they say, Mr. Khera, do you find any change in me? I said, I can't tell any change right now in 1 minute. But then immediately what they do, they show me the wristband they're still wearing in their hand. I said, what does that mean? He said, Mr. Khera, I left your program with an action plan and I'm still wearing the wristband after 5 years. What is the purpose behind it is, whenever I see the wristband, it reminds me of the program. Whenever I see the wristband, it reminds me of the program. So folks, what I have done today is, I have brought a wristband You Can Win for all of you. If you like it, you'll be more than happy to hand over a wristband to each one of you. It'll remind you of this program whenever you come in.
Wonderful.
Time
What a
truly-
noble initiative that is.
Time truly flies when we're engaged in meaningful and enriching conversations. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Shiv Khera and Mr. Kapil Gupta for sharing their unique perspectives and insightful wisdom. Your expertise, coupled with your passion, has empowered us with practical tools and shifted our mindsets towards unlocking our full potential. So thank you so much, sir. And to our esteemed moderator, Suhail Mathur, a round of applause for skillfully guiding
you.
this conversation and ensuring everyone's valuable contributions
Thank you.
were heard. Thank you so much.
Thank
sir.
you so much. Thank you so much.
So to express our appreciation for the contributions, I would like to invite Mr. Kapil to please felicitate our guest, Mr. Khera. Thank you so much, everyone. You have been a lovely audience. I hope you all have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Wonderful. I'd just like to say, sir, this has a wonderful squish ball over there. He gave me one on Monday, and my daughter's over there. She's been using it on a daily basis. So she's been using it because it's very squishy and nice. So Kapil, it's doing the trick. So thank you all once again for being a wonderful audience, and a huge round of applause for all of you for being so patient. Thank you. Thank you so much.
चेक चेक नमस्कार। अगला कार्यक्रम हमारे बीच बहुत ही जल्द शुरू होने वाला है, जिसका शीर्षक है बहुभाषी भारत में उर्दू की समृद्ध सांस्कृतिक